Good evening everyone, welcome to the official YouTube channel of Office Asari 24/7. So first of all, let me know how are you all, and also let me know is audio video both are okay, are we good to go? So let me know is everything okay, are we good to go? So this is our PPB session, Principles and Practices of Banking session. Actually this session we take every day in the morning at 6 a.m. but today I am taking this session in the evening. So this is your PPB session every day, Monday to Saturday you will find this session in the morning at 6 a.m. only in Office Hours Saturday 24/7. So in this particular session we are going to discuss certain important questions regarding your PPB. But before moving forward and discussing questions, I would love to inform you all the certain important things that should be followed by you till now. So what we have to do, like as you know, there are 55 units in your PPB. Okay, there are total 55 units in your PPB. Second thing is that the biggest syllabus is there in the PPB, and the paper will be dependent on the very depth knowledge of each and every topic, है ना? So what is required now in the last days, because you have your paper of PPB on 16th of June and you have total 1 week available to revise only PPB. The 1 week, whole 1 week you can dedicate to your PPB subject. Okay, in this 1 week obviously you will be having your revision batches. In revision batch you will find here that per day you will find 6 or 7 hours class. Okay, in this revision batch you will find 6 or 7 hours class, like morning 3 hour and the evening 4 hour classes. These kind of classes will be available for you in the revision batches, okay, in which we are going to discuss this whole 45 units, and in the form of MCQ, like the case study question, statement based question, one liner, filling the blanks, match the following, everything we will cover in this particular sessions. So this is what will start from the after your IEIFS paper, that is on 9th. So I can say from 10th of June till 15th of June you will have these sessions available. Okay, but what you guys have to do, this will be done by us in the revision batches, but what you have to do right now, focus on the concept, do revise it, then practice topic, questions and repeat. That's what you have to do. Hana, read all the concepts related to whatever topic you are studying, then revise it, give that particular topic test and repeat it for each and every topic of your PPB. Okay, sequence you have to follow is the same, A, B, C and D. The same sequence have to be followed in the PPB as it is have been given. Okay, chalo. So this is the information. Now let's start with the first question, that is talking about your that among the given, which of the following is not a correct statement. Out of the given statements here, you have to answer which of the following is not a correct. First is saying a joint account can be opened by two minors. Second, the minor of a family are referred to as co-pansers in a Hindu undivided family, and the oldest male kid is referred to as the karta who manages the account. Third, when creating Hindu undivided families account, all of the adult members are required to sign the account opening form. A private limited business with 2 or more members, like maximum 250 members. So which of the following is the statement which is correct here? Not correct here. The question is asking not a correct statement. A, B, C or D. And you can simply see here the A statement is saying two minors can have the account. Not possible. Not correct answer is your A. The joint account cannot be maintained by the two minors. Minor is the person who have not attained the age of 18 yet. Okay, so they cannot have the joint account. So right answer will be your A. Next question. Among the following, among the given, acha, this is the same. Next question we have here. Yashika wants to make payment for her purchase, but due to insufficient balance and repayment facility, she used her credit card instead of charge card for completing her purchase. For completing her purchase. So question is asking like Yashika wants to make the payment, है ना, for her purchase whatever he have purchased the goods and services, but due to insufficient balance is there, है ना, and repayment facility, she used her credit card instead of what? Instead of the charge card for completing her purchase. So what is the advantage of using a credit card over a debit card in this scenario? This is your question, है ना, this is your question, like what is the advantage Yashika have had by using the credit card over the debit card scenario. First, the credit card charges less fee in comparison to charge card. Second, credit cards allow cardholder to carry a balance from month to month. Third, credit card offers rewards and cash back on purchases. Fourth, credit card holders have to pay high annual fees. So, which of the following is the right answer here? A, B, C or D? Which of the following is correct here? A, B, C or D? So, if we talk about the benefit here, it is the credit card charges less fee comparative to your charge card. Hana, that will be the right answer here. So, right answer of your will be that credit card charges the less amount here in fee comparison to the charge card. That's why it will be beneficial. Okay. Now, next we have, that is, among the below given a statement, which of the following is the incorrect in context to the method which is followed halting, stopping a garnishee order. So, question is asking among the below statement, which of the following is incorrect in context to the method followed halting and stopping a garnish order. Sorry. A, B, C or D? Which of the following is correct here? First is saying you probably wouldn't be, you probably wouldn't be in this scenario if you were able to pay your obligation in full, and but if you can do so, your issue may be handled and order might be cancelled. Second, if you contact your creditor, you might be able to negotiate other terms for repaying the debt that are advantageous to both of you. Third, by submitting a description of your financial situation in support of your application, you may start the procedure. If the court accepts your motion, the garnish order will be halted. Then your garnish order will not be halted if you invoke the Bankruptcy Act. This move should also settle any further unsecured debt you may have. So, what do you think? Which of the following will be correct here? A, B, C or D? The incorrect in context to the method which is have been followed, halting and stopping a garnish order. A, B, C or D? Okay, so the right answer will be like your garnishee order will not be halted if you invoke the Bankruptcy Act. So, this move should also settle any further unsecured debt you may have. So, right answer will be your D option. That is not a correct statement in context to your method you should follow for halting and stopping a garnish order. You can't do that. So, right answer is D. It's an incorrect statement. Next, which of the following are true? Next, you have to answer which of the following are true. First is saying here the validity of a revalidated draft is limited to 3 months from the date of revalidation. Okay. Second, there is no limit on the maximum number of endorsement which can appear on a draft. Third, the relationship between the banker and purchaser of draft is debtor and creditor. So out of these three statements, which of the following is true, that you have to answer. Which of the following statement is true? That the validity of a revalidated draft is limited to 3 months, from its date of revalidation, or there is no limit on the maximum number of endorsement which can appear on a draft. Third, the relationship between a banker and purchaser of a draft is debtor and creditor. So actually the right answer will be all are correct, right? Right answer will be all are correct. 1, 2nd and 3rd all are correct here. So right answer will be your D option. All the statements is correct in context to your statement regarding the drafts. Next question. Self-help groups are considered for assistance under the Pradhan Mantri Rural Yojana, provided that a self-help group may consist of dash to dash educated and employed youth. Which of the following is correct? 5 or 10, 10 or 15, 15 or 20, 5 or 15. So in the Rozgar Yojana, how many members should be there, educated and employed youth? Rozgar Yojana. Okay, so member in the self-help group consider for assistance under the Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Yojana that will be provided. The self-help group may consist your 5 to 10 educated unemployed youth. It means right answer is A. 5 to 10 members should be there who are educated but unemployed right now. So right answer is A. Next question we have here, that is talking about among the below given statement, which of the following is an incorrect statement in context to data mining. So data mining is simply what? It is the process in which we find out the same pattern of data out of a large amount of data stored in the repository or the data warehouse. Okay. So which of the following is incorrect? You have to answer. Sorry. First is saying in enormous data set, data mining seeks out hidden, true and potential helpful patterns, finding unexpected or previously undiscovered correlation among the data is the main goal of data mining. Second, data mining doesn't use the database technologies like AI, statistics and machine learning. Third, data mining insights may be applied to marketing, fraud detection and scientific research among the others. Fourth is knowledge discovery, knowledge extraction, data pattern analysis, information harvesting, etc. are the other names for data mining. Which of the following is correct here? The correct means the incorrect regarding the data mining but correct in the question. So do remember, you have to find out the incorrect statement here. And the right answer here will be your actually the B. Like data mining doesn't use the database technology like AI, statistic, machine learning. No, this is wrong. It can use, it is the incorrect statement about the data mining. It can use these techniques. By using these kind of techniques, it only help us to get the certain pattern of data finding out of a large scale of data. Next question we have regarding computerized bank, like which among the following are the correct or appropriate key security control aspect in computerized bank? Correct and appropriate key security control aspect here. First, ensure that security patches are applied to system as and when released by the vendors, developers. Second, ideally a daily backup should be taken in 5 sets, 1 for each weekday and 10 sets for each month. Third, ensure that all the general ledger accounts, codes authorized by head office exist in the system. And fourth, ensure that the system prevents unauthorized amendments to the programs. So out of these 4 statements, which of the following is the correct appropriate key security control? A, B, C or D? And actually the right answer will be your, the first is correct, that it ensures the security patches are applied to system as and when released by the vendor and developers. This is true. If we talk about ideally a daily backup should be taken in 5 sets, 1 for each weekday and 10 sets for each month. This is not true. Ensure that all the general ledgers account codes authorized by head office. This is true. Ensure that the system prevents unauthorized amendment to the program. This is also true. So first, third and fourth are correct. It means C answer will be correct. Option number C will be correct here. Okay, about the security control in a computerized bank. Next we have, a banker asks the official valid document from the customer for undertaking its account opening procedure. According to you, which of the following document have been notified as the official valid document for the KYC purpose? So there are total 6 official valid documents. Okay, we have 6 official valid documents, out of which letter issued by National Population Register, voter ID, property or municipal tax receipts, passport, driving license have been given here, and you have to answer which of the following is notified as the official valid document for KYC. A, B, C or D, which of the following is correct? Okay. So letter issued by National Population Register is correct. This is 1. Voter ID is 2nd. Passport is 3rd. Driving license is 4th. Okay. 5th we have Narega job card. है ना. 5th we have Narega job card. 6th we have Aadhaar. PAN card is not an official valid document. It means right answer will be 1st, 2nd and 4th. It means right answer is A. 1st, 2nd, 4th is correct. It means right answer will be your A. Okay, apart from these 4, these are the other 2 official valid document, and do remember the PAN card is not your official valid document. It have been removed. It can be taken for opening of your account, for the purpose of your tax information will be given to the government, but not as a official valid document. Now, according to the definition as per section 5B of Banking Regulation Act, which among the following essentials required to be satisfied are correct or appropriate? Like section 5B talks about the business of banking. It talks about what? It talks about the business of banking. So out of that you have to answer that which of the following have to be correct or appropriate in context to section 5B. First is saying acceptance of deposit should be in the form of money. Second, deposit are to be done for various purposes like lending, trading, investment. Third, the deposit should be made from the public. Which of the following is correct? A, B, C or D? So it talks about what? It talks about your business of banking, and business of banking says that first you should accept deposit from public. So this is true. For the purpose of lending and investment only, not trading. So the second is wrong. And you should accept in the form of money. Apart from that, repayable on demand and withdrawable with the check and draft and otherwise. Okay. So right answer here will be first and third only. It means option number C. First and third is correct. Second is not, because second is also including trading. Trading is not the purpose for which you are taking money from the public. You are taking money only for lending and investment purposes. So right answer will be your C option. Clear? Next question. Next we have here, it's talking about which among the following statement is correct. Which among the following statement is correct? There are three statements we have. First is saying The government of India has authorized the CERSAI to act and to perform for the function of your CKYCR, that is Central KYC Registry. Second, Central KYC Record Registry is an entity authorized to receive, store, safeguard and retrieve the KYC records of a customer in digital form. Third, banks are required to capture the KYC information for sharing with the CKYCR in manner mentioned in the PMRR as per the revised KYC templates following the operational guidelines issued by the CKYCR. So, you have to answer which of these three statements are correct. A, B, C or D. Which of them are correct? A, B, C or D. Okay. So, you can see here the right answer will be the first is correct. CERSAI have been actually given authorized by the government to perform as a CKYCR. First is correct. The second is also correct. The CKYCR Records Registry is an entity which is authorized to receive, store and safeguard etc. But not the third one. Third is not correct. So, right answer is B. First and second is correct here. Okay, first and second is the statement which is correct here. So, right answer will be B. Good morning everyone. Welcome to the official YouTube channel of Office SRI 24/7. So, first of all, let me know how are you all, and also let me know is audio video both are okay. Are we good to go? So, I guess in the last session or I guess yesterday you have watched the 8 p.m. session. That was the certain surprise we have bring for all of you. So, this is the first class of that surprise we have launched already. So, now what we are going to do in the last 30 days, like it means in the month of May, we will be having the 30 sessions. Very important. Every day we will be Monday to Saturday, we will be having these session. Like every day we will be counting the days. Okay. And in this particular series, what new I am doing here, I will make sure that those topic out of whole of your syllabus, like 55 units are there in the PPB. So, out of the 55 units, what are such kind of topics which definitely will be seen in the paper? I will be taking question from them, and how I can see, how I can say this, that definitely you will find questions from these topics, because I have done research on the key takeaways of PPB papers in May 2023 and October 2023 with the help of bankers feedback and analysis we have done for the May and October 2023 paper. We have find out that these are the topics that have been asked in every shift. Or I can say not in every shift, certain topics have been asked 1 or 2 shift, but yes, they have been asked in the paper. So, that's why these topics we will be practicing in this particular session, and regularly these session will go on in the morning at 6 a.m. Today I am taking it at the 9 a.m. but every day it will go on at 6 a.m. only in Offices at 24/7 for your PPB subject. Okay. Apart from that, for IE IFS subject, the same kind of session we will have in the evening at 7 p.m. So, do make sure you regularly join these kind of session, because in these 30 days we will be doing a very good job in context to the preparation of our subject. Okay. So, let's start the session now. This is our first class, or you can say 30 days left. Every day we will be counting our days. It is the PPB session. From tomorrow onwards, it will happen in the morning at 6 a.m. Do join the session. If you are not able to watch it live because you have a paid classes or something, make sure you watch it recorded. Okay, so let's start with the first question without wasting a time. And it is talking about the hashtag banking, which is very famous, and it have been asked in the last paper as well. So, question is asking which of the following statement is accurately describe the hashtag banking in India. So, what is the hashtag banking? Let me know. Everybody have to participate here. Do make sure you keep participating, keep giving answer. Doesn't matter it will be right today or wrong, but yes, you have to participate so that you will find out how good our preparation is going on. Okay. So, first is saying hashtag banking enables customer to send message to bank using the hashtag. Second is saying hashtag banking allow customer to transfer fund through Bheem platform. Bheem is Bharat Interface for Money. Okay. Now, third is saying customer can participate in hashtag banking by following their bank on Twitter. And D is saying both A and C. So, what do you think? Which of the following is correct? A, B, C or D? Which of the following is correct statement about your hashtag banking? Accurately defines the hashtag banking. Which option accurately defines it?
So do remember, in these sessions, you will be also going with the conceptual understanding, because with the every question here, I will be discussing a little concept behind the question as well. Okay, so right answer here. Both A and C. Actually, hashtag banking enable the customer to send messages to the bank using the hashtags. And because on Twitter, if you are going, you can use the hashtags. And a hashtag is simply the symbol we use to put a certain kind of social media post or something to make it, what can we say? To make it more reach to the public. That's what the hashtag we use for. And the C option is also correct. It can participate in hashtag banking by following their banks on the Twitter. So right answer is A and C. B is not correct. Bheem application have nothing to do with the hashtag banking. Do remember that. So right answer will be your D option, A and C. You can see here. Okay, right answer is D. Now, what actually the hashtag banking is? Hashtag is used on social media sites. You can find the number of unit as well here. Anna, let's say if you want to do the self-study on a particular topic, so I have bring here the unit number also of your PPB, 50th unit it is. We are starting with the module C. So 50th unit it is, you can go and read by yourself if you want to do more study of the topic. So hashtag is used on social media site, majorly on Twitter, to identify the messages on a specific topic. A hashtag is a word that have been represented as this sign. Clear? Apart from that, Indian banks have starting the using hashtag to provide services like fund transfer, balance inquiry, prepaid mobile recharge to their customer. To participate hashtag banking, the customer has to follow his bank on Twitter. That is very true. Customer can send messages to the bank which are passed on to the bank to act on the hashtag sent by the customer. And bank release the youngster who's socially active on Twitter and Facebook would prefer a bank account that can be combined with their social media. Okay, so however it may noted that social media contains risk for both managers or directors and customer as well. Some of the example of the services offered by hashtag banking: your banking services, credit card service, FASTag service, loan service, fixed deposit, block or unblock cards. So the customer can register and then send the tweets with designated hashtag through the Twitter to perform a range of banking transaction. The user could use a tweet to transfer money, to locate the nearest ATM recharge, mobile or DTH as well. So this is what the hashtag banking is. Very important topic, have been asked in the October 2023. Next question we have about SIEM software. What does it do? What is the full form of SIEM software? Let me know. So question is asking which of the following is a feature of SIEM software? Which of the following is the feature of SIEM software? First is saying a platform for detecting, analyzing and responding to security threats of next generation. Second is saying custom dashboards alert workforce management. Third, real-time analysis of application and network hardware security alarms. And fourth is saying all. So which of the following is actually a feature of SIEM software? What is the full form of the software? And let me know which option is correct. A, B, C or D? Which of the following is correct as a feature of SIEM software? And as well as the full form of SIEM software, let me know. Okay, so right answer is D. Very good. All are the feature of SIEM software. It actually a platform for detecting, analyzing, responding to the security threat of next generation. It actually the custom dashboard and alert the workforce management. It also do the real-time analysis of application and network hardware security alarms. So all the statement written here is actually your feature of SIEM. So it is a security information and event management software. Okay, what is SIEM? So right answer will be your D, all of the above. And what it is actually, it is simply a security information and event management software. It is a platform that detect, analyze, respond to the security threat. Application and network hardware security alarm may be analyzed in real time using SIEM software, which combines SIM and SEM technologies. Using information acquired from around the world, SIEM software analyzes event against rules, analytics engines, and index them for the search milliseconds. So simply it do the data analysis, event correlation, aggregation, reporting, log management. It provides security teams with the both insight into and a record of event taking place in an IT environment. Okay, so it simply analyze, detect, respond to any kind of security threat of the next generation. Okay, so you can see SIEM software can have many feature benefit, which will be consolidation of multiple data points. Then it custom dashboards and alert the workforce management. Then it can integration with the people can be done of the products can be done with the help of this software. Okay, you can integrate with the other products your software. So that's the SIEM. Next question we have. Acha, SIEM belongs to unit number 49 of yours. Okay, next. Which of the following statement accurately reflect the situation regarding the white label ATM? So there are a lot of types of ATMs we have. Out of that, white label ATM have been asked so many times in the paper. And the maximum types of ATM that have been asked is actually your white label ATM, your micro ATM. They have been asked so many times. Okay. So white label, brown label, pink label, orange label, yellow label ATMs are there. Onshore, offshore ATMs are there. Okay. Workflow ATMs are there. Apart from that, micro ATM is there. So a lot of different types of ATMs we have. Okay. So first is saying ATM. You have to answer the correct one, the right statement. ATM that are set up, owned and operated by non-banks are called white label ATM. IndiCash ATM operator was formerly known as BTI payment. White label ATMs are called white labels because they do not display any bank's branding or taglines. They serve all banks' customers and will be interconnected with the entire ATM network. So you have to answer which of the following is correct about the white label ATM. A, B, C or D. It's very simple question. Do answer. It's a very simple question. I guess everybody can answer this question. Actually, when it comes to the white label ATM, it is provided by NBFC. This is true. IndiCash ATM was the first white label ATM of our country. It was provided by Tata. It was not known as a BTI payment. Second is wrong. Okay. Third is saying white label ATM is called white label because when you go to the white label, like if you visit the IndiCash ATM, it will show you the term a Tata product. And it will be written on the IndiCash ATM, a Tata product. Nothing of the bank will be written there. So that is also true. Okay, they serve all bank customer, will be interconnected with the entire ATM. This is also true. So first, third and fourth is correct. Yani ki right answer will be D. The second is wrong. Why the second is wrong? Because it is not used to be known as a BTI payment. So right answer will be your D option. First, third and fourth. So you can see here, ATMs which are set up, owned and operated by non-banks are called white label ATM. 1st January 2022, 4 non-banks ATM operator like India One Payment. India One Payment used to be known as the BTI payment. Okay. Then Tata Communication Payment Solution, that is IndiCash, Hitachi and Wacrain. So these are the 4 non-bank ATM operators have got license. Then apart from that, Payment and Settlement System Act 2007 by RBI. RBI released the first guidelines in June 2012 to introduce the white label ATMs to expand the banking services in the country. And the first white label ATM that was established by the Tata. Okay, and that was known as a IndiCash ATM. Clear? So do remember, white label ATMs are those ATMs which are provided by the NBFCs, non-banking financial companies. Now, next question we have. BTI payment is written here. BTI payment is the old name. It is the old name of your India One Payments. And that also a white label ATM. Now, next question we have. Which of the following is not a purpose for the RegTech can be used? RegTech, FinTech, TechFin. These are very famous terms right now. So they can be asked. So which of the following is not a purpose for introducing the RegTech? Regulatory monitoring, FASTech services, compliance management, execution of compliance. Not a purpose you have to answer. A, B, C or D. Which of the following is correct? A, B, C or D? Which of the following service cannot be provided? Very good. The right answer is B. FASTag services are not provided by the RegTech. Okay, so what this right answer will be B, right? Correct. Very good. What is RegTech? It is regulatory technology. Like FinTech is financial technology, TechFin is technology finance, and it is a regulatory technology. It refers to the technological solution that streamline the improved regulatory processes in the country. And the RegTech is a technology system that assists a bank or financial institution in managing the regulatory compliance in the country. So what are the broad purposes of them? Provide regulatory monitoring. Second, doing regulatory obligation. Third, compliance management. And the fourth is execution of compliance. These are the 4 broad purposes for which RegTech is actually working. Okay, so your right answer was the B. Okay, do remember the RegTech as well. Now, the integrated ombudsman scheme, I guess this is a very simple question. It is very famous question, but let's see how many of you answer it correct. Okay, it's a very simple question. So integrated ombudsman scheme 2021 was introduced by RBI in aim to resolve the customer grievance concerning services provided by entities regulated by RBI. So the scheme supersedes which of the following ombudsman scheme? So we know integrated ombudsman scheme was introduced by RBI in 2021 after merging, or we can say after amalgamating the certain ombudsman scheme. So out of these, which ombudsman scheme have been amalgamated? A, B, C or D? It is A, B, C or D. Let me know. D, everyone is saying. All 1, 2, 3. And here the answer is, I got 2 options, like 2 answers only, D. What about rest? What is the right answer here? Actually, it is not D. The minor change I have done here. The minor change I have done of the year, the ombudsman scheme for digital transaction was introduced in 2019 and not in 2020. So right answer is A. So do make sure when you are actually going for the paper, if you are doing a topic wise test practice, if you are doing a full length mock test practice, be very active in the paper and keep focusing on each and every term which is given. So right answer is actually 1 and 2 here, not the D. Okay, A option. So you can see ombudsman scheme, RBI, Reserve Bank of India integrated ombudsman scheme introduced in 2021. This scheme have got integrated or superseded the 3 ombudsman scheme. Banking ombudsman scheme 2006, ombudsman scheme for NBFC 2018 and ombudsman scheme for digital transaction 2019. So right answer was your A option. 1 and 2 was correct, not the third one, because in third one the year they have I have written there is 2020. So remember the year of each and every ombudsman scheme. All the 3 have been amalgamated and have created the integrated ombudsman scheme. Acha, one more thing have been done in the integrated ombudsman. A lot of things have been changed. One thing is that in integrated ombudsman scheme, now no issue of jurisdiction. What doesn't matter where your branch is, you can go and you can perform your complaint to any particular integrated ombudsman office. Apart from that, in the integrated ombudsman, like it's kind of a one nation, one scheme for the grievances for the banks, NBFCs and digital transaction purposes. Apart from that, the one more change have been done earlier. If you are not satisfied with the ombudsman decision, then you used to go to the deputy governor of RBI, but it have been changed. If you are not satisfied with the decision of ombudsman scheme, then you have to go to the executive director of RBI, not the deputy governor. So these two major changes have been done. No jurisdiction restriction is there. Apart from that, you do not have to go to the deputy governor of RBI. You can go to the executive director of RBI. Now, the full duplex transmission, how many directions can data be moved simultaneously? Full duplex we are talking about. In case of full duplex, in how many directions the data can move simultaneously at the same time? One direction at a time, two direction at a time, multiple directions simultaneously. Data can move in any direction based on the sender's preference. A, B, C or D. Let me know in case of full duplex. Okay, B answer I got. Okay, I got the B option and that is correct in two direction at a time. Because it named as a full duplex, it will go two direction at a time. Right answer is B. Very good. So what is full duplex? So right answer is B here. What is full duplex? Actually, it is commonly called duplex. Provide simultaneous two-way transmission. The transmission is faster because it avoids the delay that occurs in a half duplex circuit. Each time direction of transmission is charged. For example, you can have 4-wire full duplex modems used on telephone lines. So you can do the communication from the both sides. The right answer here was two-way transaction was allowed in the full duplex. Now, next question we have about cache recyclers. So what is not one of the feature of cache recyclers from the following features? The certain features have been given to you. Out of these features, what do you think? Which of the following is actually not a cache recycler part? Cardless transaction up to 30,000 per day. Then counterfeit notes are recognized. They accept cash from customer and dispense it as well. Cash deposit is made with the debit card. Let me know which of the following is correct. A, B, C or D. Correct means which of the following is not one of the feature, not a feature that you have to answer. For the cache recyclers, A, B, C or D. Okay, right answer actually is A, only one. The cardless transaction up to not 30,000 per day, it is 20,000 per day. And how much it is? 20,000. They actually recognize the counterfeit notes, the cash accept from the customer and dispense it as well. And the cash deposit remains with the debit. So right answer is your A. The first one is wrong. It's not 30,000 per day. It is your 20,000 per day. So what are cash recyclers? These are the machine. It's a self-service terminal that lets one deposit and withdraw the cash. The customer account is immediately credited or debited in real time on a successful transaction. And the acknowledgement slip is issued confirming the transaction. The transaction can be done through debit card for cash withdrawal, and transaction receipt is given with an updated account balance. Okay. So what are the other features? The cash recyclers can accept cash from customer and dispense it as well. Second, they ensure the genuineness of currency, because they can easily recognize the counterfeit currency, the fake currency. Then cash deposit is made with the debit card. And the last one is cardless transaction is up to 20,000 per day. How much? 20,000 per day. The right answer was your A. Okay, do remember that. Next. Which of the following electronic clearing system are the SIFMIs? So which of the following electronic clearing system are the SIFMIS? What is it? What is the answer and what is the full form of this? Let me know. NEFT, IMPS, RTGS, ECS, NACH, PPI, CTS, UPI. These are the electronic clearing system have been given. Certain name have been given to you. Out of these, what are the parts of SIFMIS? A, B, C or D? Answer quickly here. Okay. So actually the right answer for this particular question will be your all of the above. NEFT, IMPS, RTGS, ECS, NACH, PPI, CTS, UPI. Actually 12 kind of electronic clearing systems are there, which are the part of SIF MIS. So right answer will be C here. And what are the 12 electronic clearing systems we have? ECS, NEFT, RTGS, CTS, IMPS, UPI, NACH, credit card, debit card, PPI, government security clearing and forex clearing. All these are the part of systematically important financial market infrastructures. Okay, the full form is written here, that is systematically important financial market infrastructures. Okay, so these are the 12 electronic clearing systems which comes under the SIF MIS. Now, next question we have, which organization launched the e-rupee digital solution? So e-rupee, I guess everybody know it's a very famous term and it have been asked in May as well as October. So let me know. RBI, NPCI, Ministry of Finance, Indian Banks Association. Who launched the e-rupee? A, B, C or D? Also do make sure that if you like the session, do press the like button and share maximum so that more and more people will get the benefit out of these new series of arts. Let me know the answer here. And actually it is NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India. That's the umbrella organization of our country, have got the permission from RBI to perform in the payment and settlement system, retail payments. It's not RBI, it is NPCI actually. The right answer is B. Okay, you can see what is e-rupee. E-rupee was launched on 2nd of August 2021 by National Payment Corporation of India. That's the umbrella organization of the country. E-rupee is an innovative digital solution. E-rupee is seamless one-time payment mechanism. E-rupee is a QR code or a SMS string-based e-voucher delivered to the beneficiary's mobile. Okay, and the users of the e-voucher can redeem the voucher at merchant accepting e-rupee without using a digital payment app, card or internet banking. So you can use this with the activity through SMS or QR code. Okay, on 31st of January 2022, there are 16 banks live on e-rupee. Also, e-rupee is contactless, easy, safe, secure, as details of the beneficiaries are kept confidential here. Okay, so these are the information of e-rupee. It was launched by NPCI. Very important topic. Anna, do read it in detail. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the official YouTube channel of Officer Study 24/7. So first of all, let me know how are you all, and also let me know is audio video both are okay. Are we good to go? So this is our second session regarding your series 30 days left. So now today I can say that this is the day where we are saying that 29 days are left in your paper because we are not counting the June. So we have to complete everything in the month of May. This is our second session. If any one of you have not seen the earlier session, do make sure you watch it. Available recording is available on Adda 24/7 application. You can go and watch from there. Apart from that, today's session will be your session number 29 days left. Okay, so let's start. Before starting the session, do make sure you share the session on WhatsApp group and Telegram channel so that each and every person can join these session who are preparing for the JIB. So if I talk about your PPP paper, it is going to be on your 16th of June. So we have a sufficient time right now to cover the revision and to practice everything which is required to be done in the paper. Okay, in context to PPB, there is no particular module which have a more weightage in comparison to other. Actually, each and every module of your is very important. Hai na? A, B, C and D. From D you will find 10 to 15 marks question will be there. From B, C you will find 20 to 25 question will be there. And A and B will have 30 to 35 questions each. Clear? So the preference you have to give in the same way, A, B, C, D. This is how you can give the preference at the time of revision for your paper. Okay, so but everything have to be covered. In PPB, it's not like something can be left, because very beautifully IIBF bifurcate the marks in all the 4 modules of your PPB. Okay, so we have to cover everything. Chalo, let's just start with the first question, that is talking about which of the following is not true with regards to the non-fund based credit facility. So bank have 2 types of credit facility, that is fund based and non-fund based, and this have been asked earlier as well. So let me know which of the following is correct. No immediate outlay of funds, cash credit and overdraft are types of non-fund. The banker undertake a risk to the amount on happening of a contingency. These are also called off balance sheet item. So which of the following is correct in context to your non-fund based credit facility? So fund based and non-fund based, there are 2 types of credit facility we have. Which of the following is correct? A, B, C or D? And you have to find out what not a true statement. So you can see non-fund based credit facility is that kind of credit facility in which bank do not have to give the cash. A bank is actually not giving the cash. So you can see no immediate outlay of fund, this is true. Cash credit and overdraft are type of non-fund activities, this is not true. The banker undertake a risk to the amount on happening of a contingency, that's about a bank guarantee. This is talking about a bank guarantee. These are also called as off balance sheet item, correct. So right answer will be your B. In the cash credit and overdraft, you have to immediately give the cash. Bank have to give the cash immediately. So it means that's a fund based credit facility in which fund have to be given by the bank, and in case of non-fund based credit facility, it's a kind of bank guarantee letter of credit that bank provide. So right answer here is B. And you can see credit facilities are classified into 2 categories, fund based and non-fund based. Fund based credit facility involve the outflow of funds, thereby the money of the banker is lent to the customer. They are generally of following types: cash credit, overdraft, bill finance, term loan and demand loan. These are the types of loan in which bank actually have to give the loan to the public. Okay, in case of non-fund based credit facility, in this, banks fund are not directly lent to the customer, and these include your bank guarantee, letter of credit facility and acceptance facility. Okay, so do remember their types, very important, what comes under the fund base and what comes under the non-fund base. This can be asked. Now next question we have here, that is talking about which among the following are correct or appropriate controls to support the strong password in banking. Like to support the strong password in the banking, which of the following actions should be taken, or which of the following steps should be followed? First is saying the password must include at least 1 special character. Second is saying minimum length of 6 characters should be there. Third is saying that reusing of previous password. Third is saying dictionary word avoided, and the fourth is saying reusing of previous password. So which of the following are the correct or appropriate control that should be taken to support the strong password in the banking sector? A, B, C or D? Which of the following is correct here? So actually when it comes to the password must be at least of 1 special character, that's very much true. When you are typing, like when we create password of our Gmail or anything, 1 special character we have to add, right? So that's what the bank also needs, the special character. Minimum length of 6 character is actually not correct, it should be 8 character. Minimum 8, the more the better. The more characters are there, more secure your password will be. So the more the better. Okay, but minimum 8 should be there. Dictionary word avoided, this is true. Then reusing of previous password, no, you cannot reuse the previous password. Do not repeat your passwords because it is easy to understand. It is easy to crack. Okay, so actually the correct points are first and third only. So right answer will be C, both first and third. Okay, right answer will be C. The second is wrong because it should be 8, and the third is wrong, you are not allowed to reuse the previous part. So right answer will be C. Okay, now in case of your core banking solution supports the password access control mechanism by ensuring the following controls in the password. So what are these controls? First is saying minimum length should be 8 character, the more character the better. Second, should contain both uppercase and lowercase letter, right? Then must be a mixture of letters and numbers. The password must include at least one special character. Dictionary word you have to avoid. Prevent reusing of previous passwords. Then enforce periodical password changes, like in a certain duration you keep changing your password. It is important. Now passwords are disabled during the employee's leave of absence. For certain critical modules, enforce multi-user or multi-factor authentication, and passwords are stored in the system in encrypted form only. So this is what we are talking about. These are the ways by which we can support the password controls. Okay, and this has been said under the core banking solution. Clear? Do remember all the points, how to make control or how to support a control password conditions. Clear? Next question. Those officers and staff who attempt in the past to expose the corruption and wrongdoings by some unscrupulous employees or other stakeholders like the contractor, operators, explant with their organization were killed or injured or faced life threats. Identify the reason for the above unethical act against the whistleblower. Which of the following is correct? It is due to fear of being exposed in front of the world. Second, due to loopholes in government law and order. Third, due to political reasons and defame in the public image. The whistleblowers in India have no legal protection. Why this happened? Like the people who have complained, the bank employees, let's say for example, who have complained that something wrongdoing is happening in the organization. So they have faced all of these situations. It is available because which are the following reason? A, B, C or D? It is actually the reason behind it is D, because in this particular law in India we do not give any legal protection. That's why this situation have been faced with the people. So right answer will be your D option, that in India we have no legal protection in case of Whistleblower Act. Okay, so you can see here this policy says organization have a whistleblower policy that can help in avoiding a bigger crisis situation. So this objective is to encourage the employee, customers or general public to come forward with any information that pertaining to illegal or unethical activities. Like somebody is doing that and you have information, you should come forward and inform about it. Or action violating company policy or legal regulation. So the policy assures to protect the interest of a person who signals such wrongdoing. Okay, so it is for your interest, like your identity will not be disclosed that who have given this information, but the problem is that they do not provide a legal support. Like they do not give you a legal protection. Clear? Next question we have here, that's talking about to ensure that the technology deployed to operate the payment system unauthorized is being operated in a safe, secure, sound and efficient manner and as per the process flow submitted by the bank for which authorization has been issued. What should a bank do? To check the parameter master file is accessible to the operator, bank must introduce the certain minimum checks and balances to get a system audit done by firm of chartered accountant, ensure valuation and revaluation of various items of the financial statement. Which of the following should be done? A, B, C or D? Let me know. So we are saying that to ensure the technology deployed to operate the payment systems, okay, that is authorized is being operated in a safe, secure, sound and efficient manner. So what process flow submitted by the bank for the authorization have been issued? So what should a bank do? To check the parameter master file which is accessible to the operator, obviously not. Bank must introduce the certain minimum checks and balance, no. The ensuring valuation and revaluation of items, no. It should get the system audit done by the firm of chartered accountants, है ना? At the time bank have to do what? Bank have to introduce the audit of the system with the help of CAs of them. Okay, so right answer will be your C option. Clear? The right answer will be C. So here you can see, in order to ensure that the technology deployed to operate the payment system authorizes being operated in a safe, secure, sound and efficient manner as per the process flow submitted by the bank for which authorization have been issued. Hai, so the bank have to require to get the system audit done by a firm chartered accountant. So you have to do what? You have to make sure that the system audit have been done with the help of chartered accountant to find out that this is happening or not, whatever you have authorized to do though. So the scope of system audit would include the evaluation of hardware structure, operating system, critical application, security and control in place, including access control on the key applications, disaster recovery plan, training of personnel managing system, application, documentation, etc. So the system auditors must also comment on the deviation in the processes followed from the process flow submitted to RBI while seeking the authorization. So this is how the system audit helps the organization to find out that safe, secure, sound and efficient manner trading or the business is going on in, or not in the banking system. Okay, so the right answer was our C option. Next question. Next question is from the module D. Module D have a good importance in your paper. 10 to 15 marks question can be seen, or 15 to 20 can be seen from the module D. Okay, and it's a very small module. Hana, do cover it very carefully. Which of the following is a correct statement related to the term values? So 4 terms have been given. You have to answer which of the following is correct. First is saying it refers to the important and enduring beliefs or principles based on the other's perception. Second is saying it is at the center of our lives which acts as a standard of behavior. They do not affect the emotional state of mind of an individual. They can be personal value, cultural value or corporate values. So which of the following is correct about the values here? The correct statement related to values. So values is something that we create for ourselves from the environment we are being in. So first of all, the human value will be created from their family persons. So when we are growing up, we stay with our family, we look at each and every family member, they become our idols. So what they are doing and we adopt those habits, that is your values. Then when we start going to schools, we start learning from the teachers, we start taking idols, we start thinking that this teacher is the idol of ours, and their habits we try to adopt, and then after that in college, in organization. So human values will be keep changing as per you adopt the environment surrounding you. So the first human value created from the family, let's say for example, if I am from a certain family which always told me that be kind with everybody, and I have seen my mother, my father, my brother or sister that they being kind to everybody. They have never done any discrimination in the religious or any person, etc. So I will create that value inside me, and the same way I will be living in my life, like I will be being kind to everybody. I will not do anything wrong because I have seen if somebody is doing this, that's a wrong thing. So I have learned this by surrounding environment of mine, and that's where we create the values. So it's not the other's perception, it's your own perception of looking at the things what you have adopted in your behavior. Next, it is the center of our lives which acts as a standard of behavior, obviously. है ना. This is what, like what, how you are behaving, how you are talking, how you are actually representing yourself, है ना, in front of public. That's what your standard as a behavior that values shows you. Okay, they do not affect emotional state, they do affect emotional state of mind. If I am the kind of person who cannot see somebody hurting someone else, so obviously if I see certain video on social media, if I see someone beating someone out there in the road and I cannot do anything, it actually affects my emotional state, है ना. So this is also wrong. They can be personal value, cultural, corporate value, all are correct. You can adopt all these values. Okay, so right answer is second and fourth is correct. So the right option will be your D option. Okay, second and fourth is correct. So right answer will be your D option. Clear? Next. So you can see values refer to the important and enduring beliefs or principles based on which an individual makes judgment in life. It is at the center of life which acts as a standard of behavior of our. It severely affects the emotional state of mind of an individual. They can be personal, cultural, corporate values. Okay, values are forces that cause an individual to behave in a particular manner. The way you are behaving, the way you are talking to someone else, है ना? When you are angry, you are being polite still. So that's what kind of behavior of your shown as in the form of values. Okay, next. If a customer protects any bill, the bank or NBFC should provide explanation and if necessary documentary evidence to the customer within a maximum period of how many days have to be given. Like customer is protesting against a particular bill. Okay, so the bank and NBFC should provide the evidence, the documents also to give as a proof, to give as a evidence. Okay, so documentary evidence to the customer within a dash period of how many days have to be provided. <clears throat> 60 days, 45 days, 50 days or 30 days. It is actually D, 30 days, है ना. Within the 30 days period, you have to give evidence proof to the customer. No, it's not 60, it's 30 days. Within 30 days, you have to provide the evidence proof to the customer. So, the card issuing bank or NBFC should ensure that wrong bills are not raised and issued to customer. In case a customer protests any bill, the bank or NBFC should provide an explanation and if necessary, the document evidence to the customer within a maximum period of 30 days of complaint. Hana, so what happened now? The credit card I am using every month, the bank prepare the bill and send me that bill. Hana? With the email or the application, I can check my bill and certain bill or the certain payment I have made. I am actually saying that I have not made this payment, this bill is wrong. So in that situation, bank will give me the clarification by the evidence. Okay, next. Among the given, which of the following shows the lending principle used by the bank for borrowing? Safety, liquidity and diversity. Safety, liquidity, diversity and purpose. Safety, liquidity, diversity, purpose and stability. Safety, liquidity, diversity, purpose, stability and profitability. So among the given option, which of the following shows the lending principle used by the bank for the borrowing purpose? A, B, C or D? PPB, yes, PPB subject is on 16th of June, correct. The dates are actually 8th June, RBWM, 9th June, IE and IFS. Then you will get one whole week and then 16th of June your PPB. And then you will get whole 1 week, that is for your AFM. These all dates are of June. Which of the following is correct? Okay, I am getting the option number D. Very good. The right answer is D. The safety, liquidity, diversity, purpose, stability and profitability. Correct. Very good. D answer is correct. Okay, next. So you can see here, cardinal principle of lending they are, the cardinal principle of lending we are talking about, that is safety, purpose, liquidity, diversification of risk, profitability and security. All these are the cardinal principles. So the business of lending is not without certain inherent risk. Every time a basic risk will be there always, when lending the banks. When the lending banks depend largely on the borrowed funds, obviously. So these are the cardinal principle of lending. Next, among the given, which of the following is an incorrect about the standalone computer system? We are saying that a standalone computer system is normally the initial stage of computerization at the bank. That's the particular point we have given. And out of the options, we have to answer which of the following is the incorrect. Let me correct it. Okay. So here, first we have said, what happened? Okay, so first we have said that the standalone computer system is normally the initial stage of computerization at bank. Second, the standalone system are best suited for the decision making process which involve processing and analysis of data. Third, the standalone system cannot be used in a multi-user environment, but these system can be easily connected to the existing multi-user system to access the corporate dashboard and the other shared information and resources. And the last is saying that the major advantages of installing the single user system are slow processing speed and low data storage capacity, and to its use by one person at the time. They are suitable only for front office branch computerization at the branches with low workload. So among the given, which of the following is incorrect? So slow processing speed and low data storage capacity is actually not one of the correct answer of this particular option. So the major advantage, it is not an advantage, it's a disadvantage. So right answer is D. Okay. So you can see, during the initial stage of computerization, bank deployed the standalone computer system, and these standalone system are used one person at a time. So standalone system involved in processing analysis of data were best suited for the decision making process as well. And the managers and executors who were responsible for making managerial decisions, they use the benefit of such system that help them to perform what? To perform the decision very accurately. Okay, next question. So statement 1 is saying the objective behind Swardhan network is to provide 24 hours, 7 days a week electronic banking service to the customer of a member bank anywhere in the city of Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore. Second statement is saying ATMs can be interfaced with the customer relationship management system of the bank to display personalized message and focus seasonal and locational based marketing. So which of the following option is correct here? A, B, C or D? So objective behind introducing this, we are saying that the network will provide 24 hours, 7 days a week electronic banking service. Second is saying ATM can be interfaced with the CRM system. Answer will be first is correct, second is incorrect. First is incorrect, second is correct. Third, both statements are true. Fourth, both statements are false. So actually the first statement is correct. We have, first statement is incorrect, that we have provided it for 24 hours, 7 days a week. This is not correct. But the second is correct, that your ATM can be interfaced with the customer relationship management system. So right answer will be, first is correct. No. So right answer is B. Statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct in context to the Sudhan scheme. So you can see here, the first organization to set up a shared payment network system was the network of ATMs, its member banks in Mumbai. The network went live on 1st February 1997. So the network objective behind is to provide 24/7 electronic banking service to customer to the member bank anywhere in the city of Mumbai only. Hana, they were providing city of Mumbai only, not Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, everywhere, only Mumbai. That was the wrong thing in the first statement. Okay, so the customer is free to carry the transaction ATM any member bank located in neighborhood. So to facilitate interoperability among these cluster, national level IDRBT initiated the process of setting up a national financial switch that was now under the NPCI of our country's umbrella organization. Clear? So that answer was your B option. The first was incorrect, second was correct. Next, which of the following statement is true in relation to the exchange earners foreign currency account? Correct in context to exchange earners foreign currency account. So first is saying it is EEFC account. Okay, these account can be opened by a person resident in India essentially from the foreign exchange earnings. Second, only 50% of foreign exchange earning by way of inward remittance through normal banking channels are permitted under these accounts. Third, payment received for the purpose of counter trade are permitted under these accounts. Which of the following is correct here? The true statement in context to exchange earners account. So exchange earner account can be opened by any resident in India, any individual or any company who are working in India, who are staying in India, they can open this account. Okay, and only those persons who are actually earning the foreign currency, they can have this account. This 50% condition is not correct. The payment received for the purpose of counter trade are permitted under these account. And the exchange earner foreign currency account is a current account. No interest will be paid to you. So right answer is first and third. So option number C is correct. First and third is correct. So option number C is correct for the exchange earners account. So exchange earner foreign currency account is the account which can be opened by any Indian resident living in India, earning in India. It can be individual, it can be corporate. Hana, those who are earning foreign currency, they can have this account in form of current account. No interest will be paid. Okay, this was introduced by RBI. So these account can be opened by a person resident in India essentially from a foreign exchange earning. If you are earning foreign exchange, then you can have this account. You cannot convert the foreign currency and deposit in this account. Only earning can be deposited. Good morning everyone, welcome to the official YouTube channel of Officer Saturday 24/7. So first of all, let me know how are you all, and also let me know is audio video both are okay, are we good to go? So this is our session regarding your PPB, and as you know, we have started a series in which we are discussing a certain number of questions every day related to your PPB subject, or I can say IE IFS subject as well. Okay, so today it is our day, that is 28 days left, and in which we will be talking about the new questions of your PPB as per the previous year key takeaways. Okay, the May 2023 and October 2023 key takeaways we have taken to prepare these questions. Hana? So let's start. If you haven't seen the earlier session, like 30 days left or 29 days left session, if you haven't seen, then do check them out. It is available on the playlist. Now, next is question pari pashu on the same security means what? Is it means that each bank will share sale proceeds equally among them? Second, each lender bank will have an equal charge in proportion to the outstanding share of the advances. Third, bank who lend earlier will get more share from sale of proceeds, or none of the above. So which of the following is correct? Like, what is actually the pari pashu on a security, on the same security means? So when it comes to the SARFAESI Act and we recover our funds with the certain security of a customer, then this concept will apply on that. So what is the meaning of this particular term? A, B, C or D? Which of the following is correct? A, B, C or D? So right answer here is actually B. Pari pashu means each lender bank will have an equal charge in proportion to the outstanding share of the advances, है ना. So whatever banks are available who have provided the credit to the customer, so when it comes to the recovery, the property, whatever you have, है ना, from the side of the customer, all the bank will have equal charge in their proportion. So right answer is your B. Very good. The correct answer is B. You can see here when we talk about this particular topic, pari passu charge refers to a type of security interest that gives all lenders an equal claim on the assets of the borrower. Okay, so it means if the borrower defaults on their loan, all lenders will treat it equally in terms of their right to recover their fund from that asset. Clear? Next thing, in case of borrower is a company under winding up a process, the dues payable to workman have pari passu charge. This is where your term have been used in the PPP syllabus that we are talking about related to SARFAESI Act. Like in case the borrower who have taken money is a company, है ना, under winding up process. Your company is under the winding up process, but the company have taken your loan. So the dues payable to the workmen have a pari passu charge. It means equal charge will be given to them with the secured creditors as provided in the section 33, 25 and 26 of your Companies Act 2013. Okay, so here the term have been used, that's why we should know what actually this term stands for. Right, now second question. Second question is talking about which of the following is true in context of PM Swanidhi scheme. Related to this scheme, which statement is correct? First, the full name of PM Swanidhi scheme is Pradhan Mantri Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. The PM Swanidhi scheme aims to provide loan to street vendors to help them start or expand their business. Second, anyone who is a street vendor and a citizen of India is eligible to take the loan under this scheme. Third, street vendors can borrow up to 10,000 under the PM Swanidhi scheme. Fourth, loan interest rate under the PM Swanidhi scheme is 6%. The repayment period for loan under PM Swanidhi scheme is 3 years. So let me know which of the following is correct in context to your PM Swanidhi scheme. 1, 2, 3 or 4. Like A, B, C or D. Which of the following is correct? The true statement in context of your scheme. A, B, C or D. Under the PPP module B, Hana, you have one chapter that is government security scheme or government schemes, I can say. So all those government scheme we have to cover, in which day NRLM, day NULM is very important. Okay, day NRLM, day NULM is very important. Okay, very good. Right answer is all. 1, 2, 3 and 4 all are correct here. So right answer will be your all. Very good. D option is correct. So you can see here, if we talk about this scheme, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs is implementing PM Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Nidhi scheme since 2020, June 1, facilitate the microcredit to street vendor. And this scheme implementation period was initially till March 2022, has been extended till December 2024. Hana, with some revision in the guidelines have been done, and the credit guarantee and interest subsidy claim will be paid till the year 2028 to the street vendors. Okay, so this is what the scheme PM Swanidhi we are talking about. It is a 2.0 version that have been given in your syllabus, and it have been extended till the 2024 December. Next question. It is about Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, the crop insurance scheme. Which of the following is true regarding the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, or we can say a crop insurance scheme? The first is saying Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana was launched in India on 18th of February 2016 by Mr. Narendra Singh Tomar. Second, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana aims to financially protect farmers against the crop loss due to what purpose? Natural calamities, pest attack or disease. Third, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana provides coverage against your yield loss, area loss, price loss type of risk. Then fourth, the premium for Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana is shared between the farmer, the government and the insurance company. So which of the following statement is correct here regarding the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana? A, B, C or Which of the following is correct in context to A, B, C or D? Under the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Okay, so right answer here is the first one is not right because it was not introduced by Mr. Narendra Singh Tomar. It was introduced by the Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi. So the first one is wrong and all the other is correct. So right answer is second, third and fourth. So first one is correct that it was launched on 18th of February 2016. This is correct, but not launched by Mr. Narendra Singh Tomar. It was launched by Mr. Modi. So right answer is second, third and fourth. Next, you can see here the Rabi 1999 season National Agriculture Insurance scheme was introduced, replacing the earlier schemes, and implementation of the crop insurance scheme, which were being done by General Insurance Corporation, was taken over by the Agriculture Insurance Company, and further it was replaced by Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana in 2016. So it is what? It's a yield insurance scheme in India, and it has extended coverage under the localized risk, like it covers the localized risk, it covers your post harvest losses, etc. Okay, so it aims to adopt the technology for the purpose of yield estimation so that it will be able to calculate how much yield loss the customer have faced. Okay, it will cover the basic and add-on coverage. It will provide the basic and add-on coverage. The basic coverage is like of all kind of your natural disaster losses. So any loss which happened due to the natural disaster like flood, your drought is there, landslides are there, natural fire is there due to lightning, storm, hailstorm, etc. But also there is a add-on coverage. If you want these coverage, you have to add this on in your scheme, and it depends on the state government they want to add this or not. Okay, so this is what the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana that provide insurance claim or the insurance on the crops to the farmers on their crop. Now, next question is talking about DRT. So DRT is what? Debt Recovery Tribunal. It's a recovery law for the dues of banks, like NPA recovery. It was introduced for the NPA recovery. So DRT is a kind of a special court which was established by central government for the purpose of NPA recovery of banks and financial institution. Clear? So you can see the question is asking here, the presiding officer under the DRT holds office for a tenure of dash years from the date he assumes his office or until the age of dash years, which is earlier. So for how many years and at what age, till what age the person will be appointed as a presiding officer under the DRT. So in DRT, one thing is important. If you want to make somebody your presiding officer, for that the person should be eligible to become the judge of a district court. If he qualifies all the eligibility criteria of being a judge of district court, the person can be appointed as a presiding officer under the DRT. Okay, and the tenure of the person will be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years or 2 years. If you remember the tenure, you can easily eliminate the other option. And right answer is 5 years and till the age of 65 years. So right answer is B. Okay, the tenure will be 5 years and until the age of 65 years, whichever is earlier, that will be the duration till then the presiding officer can work. So right answer is B. Okay, so you can see here DRT we have discussed, establishment and composition we are talking about. Presiding officer is there. A tribunal is made up only one person called a presiding officer. A person qualified for appointed as a PO in the DRT if he is or has been or is qualified to be the appointed as a district judge. Okay, and the tenure will be 5 years and the age will be 65 years, whichever is earlier. Okay, same in case of if we talk about DRAT, the qualification for the DRAT presiding officer will be he should be qualified to become a judge of high court. first condition, plus have been a member of Indian legal service, second, at a post in a grade 1 of that service. Third condition, at least 3 years, for at least 3 years the person have to be in the post grade A. Then if we talk about also the fourth condition is there, he should have held the office as a presiding officer of the DRT for 3 years. So if combine these particular qualifications have been fulfilled by one person, that person will be appointed as a DRAT chairman. He will become the DRAT chairman. Now for the DRAT, you can see the term will be 5 years, same as the DRT, but the age will be here 70 years. Whichever is earlier. So do remember the qualifications for both DRT and DRAT, they have been asked. This is important. So if the person is not satisfied, if the bank or financial institution is not satisfied with the DRT orders, they can go and appeal to the DRAT. That's why it is known as appellate authority. Now consider the statement about the bank guarantee. The statement about bank guarantee, and which of the statement is wrong, you have to find out. So first is saying it is a non-fund based credit facility by bank. Second, it is non-fund based credit facility by bank as per the section 126 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. There is provision for a bank guarantee. Third, bank guarantee not applicable on international trade. So what do you think? 1, 2 or 3, A, B, C or D, which of the following will be the right option? Wrong statement. So first one is correct. It is actually a non-fund based credit facility, right? Bank guarantee is actually a non-fund based credit facility, and as per section 126 of Indian Contract Act, there is a provision for bank guarantee. This is also true, but it is not applicable on international trade. It's not true. It is applicable. Right answer is C. Only C. Okay, so right answer will be your C. So when it comes to the bank guarantee, it is required by a borrower details such as the nature of guarantee's purpose, particulars of the contract period and the amount for which the guarantee sought are collected and assessed from the aspect of creditworthiness of the customer and his relationship with the bank for sanctioning the guarantee facility. Okay, so appropriate condition with regard to cash margin and security registration of charge with ROC in case the customer is a corporate, and let down the sanction to the protect interest of the bank. In the event of default of the customer, fulfill his part of the obligation of contract relating to which the bank guarantee has been issued and the liability thereon likely to be crystallized on the banker. So what happened? The bank guarantee is a non-fund based credit facility. That is very much true, but it becomes active only when the borrower defaults. If borrower defaults, then bank start actually performing its obligation towards the bank guarantee. Okay, otherwise there is no requirement to become the to make the bank guarantee active. And there are 3 types of bank guarantee: financial, performance, deferred payment. We have financial bank guarantee, performance bank guarantee, and the deferred payment guarantee. Next, which of the following is true in context to your brown label ATM? Brown label ATM we are talking about. So ATMs are of multiple types. If we talk about ATMs, there are multiple types of ATM: white label, brown label, pink label, green label, orange label, yellow label. Apart from that, on-site ATM, off-site ATM, your work-site ATM, mobile ATM, micro ATM. So a lot of types of ATMs are there. Out of that, white label and micro ATM are more important. Now, brown label ATM we are talking about. First is saying the ATM where a service provider owns the hardware and leases it to the banks are brown label. A sponsor bank's brand is used on the brown label ATM. The difference between white label ATM and brown label ATM is the brown label ATM have cash management responsibility with the sponsor bank, while white label ATM do not have cash management responsibility. The responsibility is shared by the ATM user for the financial transaction conducted at the brown label ATM. Okay. So out of these 4 statements, which statement is true about your brown label ATM? Let me know. A, B, C or D? A, B, C or D? Which of the following is true in context to the brown label ATM? So brown label ATMs, in short, if I make you understand, it is what? These are the ATMs which have been produced, like the hardware machine of the ATM have been established by the service provider, like the manufacturing unit have produced the actually hardware machine. In that hardware machine of ATM, the cash management and connectivity of the network is provided by the bank, है ना, or the financial institution. And whatever bank provide the cash management and the connectivity to banking networks facility, that bank is known as a sponsored bank, right? That's the only difference. And whoever bank is providing these two services, that bank's name, tagline, logo, everything will be there in the ATM. Like when we go to the SBI's ATM, every detail about the SBI will be there. The name of the SBI, tagline of the SBI, logo of the SBI, the policies of the SBI will be somehow shown in the ATM center, है ना? And if it is for the Axis Bank, everything about the Axis Bank will be there. So these kind of ATM are what? They are the brown label ATM. So bank is not actually manufacturing the hardware machine. Bank is purchasing the hardware machine of ATM from the certain manufacturer, from the certain service provider, and provide the cash management and connectivity network to it machine. And that's known as brown label ATM. So all are correct, but not the fourth one. Why the ATM user will help you out in the financial transaction? No ATM user will help you to perform the financial transaction. So the right answer is A. Not all are correct. Only first, second, third is correct. Fourth is wrong. The responsibility is shared by the ATM user for the financial transaction conducted at a brown label ATM. Why would ATM user will do that? I am the ATM user. Why would I will be participating in the responsibility of performing the financial transaction? So right answer is A. Okay, first, second and third is true. Do read all the statement very carefully. The minor changes can change the answer of the question, है ना? So be very careful while you are studying the statement. So brown label ATMs are those at ATM where a service provider owns the hardware machine and lease means rent it out, है ना, the ATM to the banks. So cash management and connectivity to banking network is the responsibility of the sponsor bank. A sponsor bank means the bank who is taking it on a lease, whose brand is used on the ATM. So the service provider takes the responsibility of the maintenance of the ATM, whereas the sponsor bank takes the responsibility of cash management and the connectivity to banking networks. That's a brown label ATM. Now, which of the following is not an example of subtac tool used by the Reserve Bank of India? Which of the following is not an example of subtac tool that is used by the Reserve Bank of India? Import data processing and monitoring system, export data processing and monitoring system, central repository of information of large credits, financial market analysis and surveillance system. So what do you think, which of the following is not used by RBI as an example of subtac tool? So subtac is supervisory technology. Fintech is financial technology, है ना? TechFin is technological finance. And if you talk about subtax, it's a supervisory technology that is known as a subtac. And answer here is D. The financial market analysis and surveillance system is not utilized by RBI as a supervisory technology. So right answer will be your D here. And you can see the detail here. Supervisory technology, you can call it, or a subtac. It offers a technological solution that assists the financial supervisory authorities in managing regulatory compliance. So RBI use it to regulate, to supervise. Supervisory agency managing the risk in the financial sector also implement the regulation with the help of subtacs. And the RBI has been using subtac to collect and analyze the data. Some examples are your IDPMS. Okay, then you have EDPMS, then you have CRILC. These are the certain examples that RBI use to collect the data and analyze the data. Okay, so subtac is supervisory technology. Next question. Which of the following is not a major fintech product or service? So fintech is financial technology. Out of this, which of the following is not a fintech product? Financial technology. These are those companies who are actually providing already a financial services. Now they want to become better in the technological services as well. It means they want to provide all kind of services of their digitally to their customers. So P2P lending platform, robo advisors, mobile banking app, traditional banking branches. I guess this is very simple. And the answer is your D. The fintech wants to provide all the services digitally. So obviously the traditional banking branches will not be the major, will not be the product of fintech. So right answer is D here, traditional banking branches. If we talk about fintech, it is a financial technology, can be described as the use of technology to deliver the financial solutions. So fintech refer to the technological enable financial innovations. So fintech include your startup to big techs to establish this financial institutions. Okay. So peer-to-peer lending, platform, crowdfunding, blockchain technology, distributed ledgers technology, big data, smart contracts, robo-advisors, e-aggregators, other major fintech products and services are currently in use. So these fintech products are currently used to connect the lenders and borrowers information, seekers, providers with or without a nodal intermediary agency. Okay, that's how the fintech work. Now, what is the primary goal of cyber security risk mitigation? The primary goal of cyber security risk mitigation. I guess the question itself gives the answer. Like why we are performing the cyber security risk mitigation. To lower the total risk or impact of cybersecurity threat, to completely eliminate the cybersecurity threat, to minimize the occurrence of cybersecurity threat, to transfer the risk of cybersecurity threat to third party. A, B, C or D. Why we are using the cybersecurity risk mitigation? Simply to do what? To lower the total risk or impact of the cyber security threat. Okay, the overall, the total risk we have to control. So right answer is A. Now, the cyber security risk mitigation is the practice of implementing security policies, procedures in order to lower the total risk or impact of a cyber security threat. And the risk mitigation can be divided into three categories in the context of cyber security, that is prevention, detection and remedy. Okay, so to mitigate the cyber threat by cyber criminals, bank must take the cyber security risk mitigation tactics that will need to evolve to keep pace with the evolving technology of threat. So as the technology is growing, the cyber threat way is also growing. So accordingly, we also have to keep updating ourselves to control these kinds of activity in the banking system. Next we have FATF. Read the following statement carefully and choose the correct option in relation to the topic FATF. It stands for Financial Action Task Force. So there are two statements out of these, which is correct, which is wrong. You have to answer that. Okay, so first is saying FATF issues these statements of countries that do not or insufficiently apply the FATF recommendation once in every 4 months. Second, banks should take into account the risk arising from the deficiencies in AML CFT regime of the jurisdiction included in the FATF statement. A, B, C or D, which of the following is correct? So FATF is a financial action task force which helps us out in controlling the AML, KYC, CFT norms. It provides us that to control money laundering and terrorism financing at the international level. Like in India, RBI give us the certain AML, KYC norms. Similarly, at the international level, same will be provided by FATF. And the answer is both the statements are correct about the FATF. Both the statements are correct. So right answer is C. Okay, right answer will be C. So you can see here, FATF issues a statement of country that do not in or insufficiently apply the FATF recommendation. Hana, once in every 4 months. So if they are not applying the FATF recommendation, it means they might be involved in the financing of terrorism. They might be doing the money laundering. Hana, so you do not have to do any kind of financial transaction with these countries. And banks should take into account the risk arising from the deficiency in AML KYC, AML CFT regime of the jurisdiction included in the FATF statement. Okay, so it let us know at the international level which country is actually following the recommendation and which not. And if some are following but not wholly, or so they are certain have following the just recommendation of the FATF but at a very low phase level, so they will also be named by the FATF, and we do not have to do any kind of financial transaction with them. And if we are providing any financial transaction with these kind of countries, we have to maintain all the records of the transaction X to Z, everything have to be maintained. Okay, so this is all for today. Let me know how many answers you have given correct. Apart from that, the Maha Pack is available with the double validity and 80% discount. If you want to enroll, you can enroll by using the code Y496. The revision batch is going to start in this month only. So to enroll in the Maha Pack to get all the benefits, by downloading the 24/7 application, you can get the additional 1% discount, so purchase from the application. Apart from that, if you regularly want to join the YT session, then do subscribe the channel Office of Survey 24/7 and press the bell icon so that all the upcoming sessions notification will be given to you. Okay, and this is all for today. Let's see you all in the evening at 7 p.m. for IE/IFS session. Do not forget to join that session as well, in which we will be again discussing the questions on the basis of the past papers experience. Okay, chaliye, so let's end the session everyone, and have a good day. Take care everyone.